and welcome to another episode of King's Chaos. I'm your host, Kyle Pepitone, aka the Kyng-Pin parentheses of Spades, and I'm joined here today with Ryan Trick.
What's going on, Kyle?
Not much. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, doing pretty good. Day after Thanksgiving, I'm stuffed.
Yes, it is. I felt horrible yesterday from all the food.
Oh, gonna be eating leftovers for weeks, but that's half the charm of Thanksgiving, you know?
I know. Now, before we start off the show, a lot of people are going to realize that there was no funny, skit at the beginning of this episode, and that's frankly because, I have way too much to do. And that actually brings us into our topic today, which is, does more time make us less or more productive? And what I mean by that is getting less work might cause you to procrastinate more, and getting more work might have you motivated more. Ryan, What do you think about that?
You know, this is my last semester of college, so I've got about 4.5 years now of dealing with this very question.
We're going to miss you.
Oh, man. I'm going to miss you guys, too, but I will not miss the amount of work.
That's fair.
You know, I got to admit, I'm one of those people who I like to think I work way better under pressure. You know, 2 a.m., knock out a paper that's due in 48 hours, whatever. But I honestly think, I'd have to say, at least for me, having a bunch of work makes me really productive.
Yeah.
But when I don't have a lot of work to do, I'm kind of I can push it off a day, you know?
That's my theory of it, because it's okay, well, you have a week to do this, but this is the only thing you have to do, so why rush it?
Yeah, exactly. But, it's I got this project due that I'm going to call myself out on air here, but I have this project due that's due in 3 days or whatever, and I've been kind of carrying it. It's a group project, and I've been kind of carrying the workload a little bit. So I'm messaging my group probably after we record the show saying guys, can somebody please help me? And they're all oh, well, we have a lot of other work to do in other classes. And I'm I know you're not doing your other work. I'm in half the classes with you. So I don't know. You know, finals are nuts, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because the reason I'm choosing this topic for this week is because we're kind of in finals week now. But as an art major, I've been in finals week for the last month. But what are the finals that you do have in your last semester here?
Ooh, for me, so it's interesting. You know, I've noticed a lot of my underclassmen friends are saying they have a lot of final exams coming up that they have to cram for.
Oh, really?
I don't really have a whole lot of final exams. I have a lot of final projects.
Yeah.
So I've kind of noticed as you get into the higher level courses, they give you more final projects or papers than they do just hey, show up on this day and take a 500 question exam in 20 minutes or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've got a lot of final projects. A lot of them are group projects, which
really?
I don't know if I'm a fan of. I like group projects.
How does that even work over quarantine though?
It's a pain is how it works. You make a group me, they give you about 20-30 minutes to kind of get yourself situated with your groups and for each class. But other than that, it's just work on it outside of class, and it's kind of a pain in the neck, honestly, over quarantine. You know,
I can imagine.
Yeah, a lot of for the whole pandemic, a lot of people have been oh yeah, you know, it's made schooling really hard for my kids in high school and for middle school. And I'm yeah, I understand that, but you know, and yeah, it is hard, but at the same time, it's you don't see a lot of people talking about how hard it's on college students.
Yeah.
You're seeing a lot in the news where it's oh yeah, it's really hard on little, you know, whatever, 6th grade Timmy or whatever, because he doesn't know how to read. It's I don't know, maybe give your kid a book outside of school. Crazy idea. But it's you know, for college, it's just like you said, you're how the heck do you do group projects or group work when you and your other classmates are miles apart and can't see each other in person? Or
exactly. I had trouble getting people to meet up together pre-pandemic of this year when we had to do a group project. I can't imagine exactly. Outside.
Exactly. It's hard enough to get people together for group projects.
Yeah.
And it's like in college too. It's, like, again, not to downplay like all the other like kids
Right.
and high school students and whatnot going through like finals. That is like totally rough. I can't imagine going through.
Yeah.
I hated high school. I can't imagine going through it during a pandemic.
Yeah, my high school was like prepared. Like we all had laptops in my high school, so they technically were prepared for this. So I had a little taste of it on like snow days and stuff. But I can't imagine doing this for almost 2 semesters now.
Oh yeah, and it's crazy too to think about it because it's like these 2 semesters have kind of proven that, hey, you don't necessarily need to have snow days anymore. Or if you're calling out sick, you can still do it from home if you have a laptop, which is like, I'm glad I'm getting out of school when I am, because if I still had like 2 more years to go for like the pandemic,
Right.
I can almost guarantee you we're going to see it's like snow days are no longer an excuse. If you're out sick, you can crawl over to your computer. It's going to be rough, but like, I mean, kind of getting back to like finals.
Yeah.
I got a lot of group projects for finals this semester, and that's kind of rough for the pandemic.
Yeah, I
but
can imagine.
It's like, I don't know. What do you got going on for finals?
Well, I've got all art classes, so even my history of animation class is a project, which I actually thought that would be more like, well, it's lecture focused the class, so I figured like my other lecture courses that would also be an exam, but I actually have to do a project for that too. So that's my first class of the week. So what I have to do for that is I have to take a non-Western animator, write 3 paragraphs about him, so I guess that's where the lecture part comes in, and then draw like either him or something they've done. So I chose Miyazaki, the co-founder of Studio Ghibli.
Oh yeah,
Studio Ghibli, whichever one you.
Whatever, the giblets, whatever.
Yeah. So I got the whole drawing part done of that. I just have to formulate my thoughts into words for his paragraphs. So that's Monday, and then Tuesday I have 2 classes with the same professor. However, it's kind of rocky because the professor's Wi-Fi is so bad he keeps getting disconnected from his own classes.
That is the worst part about the pandemic, in my opinion, is like professors. I'm sorry to all the professors listening. Learn how to use Zoom. Plug your computer into Ethernet. It is impossible.
But that's the thing. Like the whole start of the semester, he was fine. It's like these last 3 or 4 weeks that his Wi-Fi has just been completely shot. It's so weird. But he's very patient. I give him credit because he's very patient with it. So he's managing it very well. So we kind of have an idea of what our finals are. We have to create a like faraway lands, like a fantasy land painting for one of them, and then we have to create some kind of story for the other one because it's art of the visual narrative. But I just don't know, because of the bad Wi-Fi, I don't know at what stage that project should be at, like for the final.
Oh, that's rough. Yeah, I was talking to my friend Dana. She's also an art major. She's an animation major. And she's like graduating soon. So she has her thesis that she's been working on. Yeah. And I guess for those of you who are listening who don't know, an art thesis is no small task. She's been working on it for months now, and she's still working on it. She was working on it like last night. We're recording this the day after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
She was literally recording it or working on it like Thanksgiving night at like midnight or 1 a.m. After like taking a break for the day. Yeah, it's crazy.
Quick Google search, how to change majors.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so art theses are like projects that take months to do. I cannot imagine what she's like dealing with. I haven't even asked the question like, hey Dana, how are your finals going? Because I feel like it's just gonna be like she's just gonna respond by screaming into the universe.
From what I understand,
like
from what I understand, it's 2 semesters worth of classes. It's an art thesis 1 and then art thesis 2.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure you're working on the same project throughout the entire thing.
Yep. She's been doing a lot of like super hard work on it for like months now. and it looks good too. Like she's shown me, I remember she was showing me sketches of it, or kind of like starting the basis of it a couple months ago, and it was good. Like it looked good. But I mean, you know, and that kind of brings back to the whole pandemic thing. Like, you know, one really hard part about the pandemic, especially during like finals too, with all these projects that people have, because it's not just art majors too. Like I have a bunch of projects. I'm probably later today I'll be recording a audio production project that I have to do. But cool. I needed to get what is it? Not Adobe Audition. I needed to get not Audacity, the other one. Yeah, I'll think of it in a minute. Pro Tools. Yeah. That's it. I had to get Pro Tools because there's no like lab. I mean, I can't sit in a lab at school and edit. You can go into a lab and record, but you can't really edit in the labs right now.
Right.
Or at least I don't want to because it's not safe. So that's a crazy amount of money. All the art majors had to get like how many hundreds of dollars worth of like software?
Yeah, you know? I mean, I was lucky. I've been using Adobe for years, so I had everything already. But I took a 3D modeling course over the summer, and we had to get ZBrush. Luckily, we got a free month-long-ish trial of it, because if not, the thing cost like $2,000 a year.
That's mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, I know.
$2,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like you could buy like a car. You could put like a down payment on like a car with that.
I know, and thankfully they had that free trial, because had we been on campus, I'm pretty sure all the computers would already have had it.
Yeah. So it's crazy. Honestly.
But there's this also, I have this 3D modeling program called Blender that's free, and it's pretty much just as good as ZBrush. So I've kind of been working with that, like mostly the latter half of this year, just for like fun, and it works just as well.
Yeah, I mean, hey, fair enough. Whatever works, honestly, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And that's something that, you know, I've definitely learned throughout the pandemic. This is gonna sound terrible, but I did have to buy some of my textbooks, or like, you know, throughout the course of the pandemic or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Or buy like online programs. I haven't bought all of them though, because it's just like you gotta figure out what you need and what you don't need.
Right. Yeah.
When you have to buy, as a college student, all this extra stuff because now we're working from home. So like normally, you know, and I probably would have gotten it eventually. Right now I'm recording this on a nice like mic. I bought a mic a couple months ago for my home setup, and it's like, would I have bought that without the pandemic? Like I had to legitimately ask myself that.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I probably wouldn't have bought it without the pandemic, because I just walk into, what is it, like Radio 2 with the station and record on those mics, because that's a really good setup.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, so it's, I don't know, man. It's crazy, this whole thing.
Yeah.
The whole thing is a load of whack.
Yeah, like going to your, like, would I have done this during the pandemic? I got this, I'm working on a 2-monitor, I'm not going to name the specs because I don't know them, but I have a whole PC here that I bought for the pandemic, because my Mac that I've been using is like, I don't know, 6 years old, and it's you can tell it's starting to go. It really can't handle the big things anymore. So if I had to do a 600 layer drawing project for one of my finals, my computer would have just crashed.
It would have like burst into flames.
Yeah. But because I bought a desktop computer this time, I had to get a webcam for Zoom. I had to get a mic, and I wouldn't have done all that in the pandemic, because even when I was recording my YouTube videos, I used my phone as my mic, and that was great. But obviously you can't use that for something that's live. So
yeah, exactly. And you know, it's I guess like that's a huge thing I've seen a lot of people do. And this is like a little PSA, a little pro tip if you're working in the, you know, era of Zoom and pandemic. Second monitor makes like all the difference.
Oh, I
don't
know.
think people realize how useful a second monitor is just in general. Like when I'm on Zoom, right? If my professor's like going over assignments or the rundown, I'll have like the class on one monitor, and then I'll have like Canvas and all my assignments up on the second monitor.
Right. Yeah.
It's just small stuff like that. Like just being able to see Zoom and something else is super useful.
Yeah. I mean, I had one monitor when I got the computer in like August, and then like the day before classes started, I'm like, let me just go out and get the other one. So I have no experience with a class with one monitor, but I can tell you this makes it so much more beneficial.
Oh yeah. And you don't, and the interesting thing, I don't think people realize, you don't even need like you don't even need a desktop. You can just have a laptop. Like that's what I'm using. My whole setup is a laptop and a bunch of stuff plugged into it. I have like I have my second monitor plugged into it. I treat my laptop like a desktop, because if you have a desk setup and you're working off a laptop, you don't really need, you can kind of do that. You can treat it like it's a desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just small stuff like that, I think, has really kind of helped throughout the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely.
Getting a mic, getting a second monitor. It's just stuff like that. It's like, oh, makes it so much easier.
Especially for all the radio stuff. A mic like this definitely helps.
And good headphones too.
Yeah.
That's a huge, this is almost turned into like how to survive the pandemic through technology. It's like good headphones if you're in media. Like you should probably look into that. Having good sound quality.
Yeah.
Having a second monitor. It's all good. And it's made finals a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely.
A lot more tolerable. I can have a podcast up on one monitor and then something else to procrastinate on the second one. No.
Exactly.
But it's stuff like, podcast on one, paper on the other. Or even just writing a paper on one monitor, research on the other one,
Yeah. Or as I like to have it, I got my my project on one, my recording software on the other, using my phone for music, or video playing on my Mac.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to mention the drawing tablet I have too. So that's 1, 2, 3.
I would
technically need 5 screens.
I would need a bigger desk. I
don't even have that big of a desk. Which is...
I saw at the last general meeting, I saw Josh, aka Josh, at the station. He finally went home, because I was starting to think he just actually lived in the office. But he finally went home and got to show us his desk setup. He's got this nice L desk, and I'm so jealous because he has so much desk space, and I'm like, I want that so I can have 3 monitors and room for my mic.
I want an L desk, but then I would actually, I would be trapped in. I wouldn't be able to get out.
Oh man!
Because I have my bed right next to my desk on this side. I've got about 6 inches of room between the desk and the wall on the other side.
Just crawl under the desk. It's fine. It works.
I could. It's an opening, but there's a rat's nest of wires down there.
Oh yeah. No,
that's the only problem.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, so I see there's a question on here.
Yes, there's many questions.
I'm going to throw at you. Which is better, exam or project?
Well,
it's a rough one. Or how about this, exam, project, or paper? Because I would consider a paper kind of different from an exam or a project.
True. However, all the lecture classes I've had, last half, the finals was an exam and a paper. So,
yeah, that's rough. But I mean, honestly, I think I would rather have yikes. I was gonna say paper, but then at the same time I've had papers this semester that I've hated.
Yeah.
So I'd say probably project. Yeah. I don't mind a final exam or I don't mind a final exam or final paper, but I would prefer just a big project, because that's something I'm the kind of person who, if I want to work on a project, I'll sit down for 10 hours in one day and just knock out 80% of the project. Yeah. Whether it's 2 days before it's due or 2.5 weeks before it's due, I'll just sit down and knock it out.
Yeah. That's my logic too. Projects do tend to take longer, especially art projects that I have, because there's sketching and shading and coloring, yada, yada, yada. But I do like projects more because they have the capability to be enjoyable.
Oh yeah.
You can hey, I'm actually into this project, and you can kind of tell how much you've done and how much more you have to go. When you're studying, there's no little progress bar that says you've covered 30% of the material. Keep going.
Exactly.
So I definitely would say projects. And although I have 5 projects, which is a little overwhelming, I think it'd be a lot easier than studying for 5 finals on different subjects.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you know, the thing that I really enjoy about projects too, and I don't know, maybe I'm a weirdo or freak or whatever. I don't understand how people look at a paper they've written and go, "Man, I really love that paper I wrote." I hate every paper I write because it's a paper. Like, I'm sorry, I just hate it. But a project, you finish up I'll finish up a project. There are projects I did this semester where I'll look at them and be like, "Oh, I liked that." Like that, I would present that to my friends just to say, "Look at this cool thing I did."
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's stuff like that. I don't know. I just really like projects.
Right.
I would rather, they're more satisfying to me to look at when they're done than like a paper.
Especially like visual projects. I've looking over all the art I've done. I'm like, hey, I'm actually glad of how this turned out. And like, call me lazy, but I've doubled a lot of my projects as like YouTube content. So I've been recording myself drawing them.
If it works, it works, you know.
It does, because
no shame.
Yeah, because I love a good time lapse to begin with. So watching something go from blank to finished is great. So now I have those of my own that I have, but I also add a little bit to it. I'll add like, hey, this is what I did. I recently just put up one like last week that was, I drew the picture, I recorded it, and then I went back and wrote a story around it. So I narrated that over the art.
That's cool. And Plug the YouTube, Kyle. What is it?
If you're interested, it is,
there you go.
well, for your radio listeners, let's say, if you're interested, it's Kyng-Pin, KYNG-PIN. And if you're not listening on the radio, then you're probably already there.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. I really like projects. I'm gonna sound weird. I kind of like honestly, out of everything, papers are like number 3 for me. It goes like from best to least for me. Projects, exams, papers. The reason papers and exams are like a close tie, though, almost tied. I just don't like papers because there are some papers I'll knock out and really enjoy writing. I'll be honest. When you get into your major and the higher level courses in college, you start taking classes you're really interested in. I wrote a paper, I think it was like during the winter, or not the winter, the summer semester, that was on Two Broke Girls and why the show, like what they used to be so popular and what kind of comedy they used to be popular, but also why the show failed. And
interesting.
I loved writing that paper. I sat down and I was like, okay, I'm going to write the outline of this paper, yada, yada. I sat down. I ended up sitting down for 12 hours straight and I wrote the whole paper. It was just fun to write. But at the same time, on the other side of the coin, you throw me in like a gen ed history, kind of course. And it's like, I got to write a 10-page paper on what, what is it, on
anthropology,
psychology. Yeah. Anthropology or, history, or it's, can't do it,
Actually, that kind of brings up a good point. There's not just exams, projects, or papers. We forgot to throw in presentations.
I kind of consider that projects because I present most of my projects.
That is true. Yeah.
That's honestly probably my favorite part about doing projects is the presentation aspect of it. I love presenting projects. My dad's a marketing guy, and ever since I was little, I've seen him like go up on stage and do like these big marketing presentations, and I was always like, "Yo, that's so cool." So he always like helped me with public speaking, and I love presenting projects.
That's cool. I think I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I don't think I consider presenting to be the best part.
Oh, yeah. That's fair. That's fair. Well, in art, though. Presenting art projects, I'm with you on that one because I'm an art minor. I took some high-level photography classes. And the worst part about art presentations are the critiques. It's helpful. But so soul crushing at the same time.
Oh, I know. Yeah, but like I've noticed, like in all my art classes these past few semesters, nobody, like a lot of the no, not to call anyone out, but a lot of the classmates, like nobody really prepares for the presentation.
Oh, I'll call people out. I'll call out like half my group members that I've worked with this semester. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I know nobody prepares to present.
Like I don't like go in and say, okay, these are the points I'm going to talk about. They just say, okay, I'm up next. I'm like, yeah, this is what I did. You can see it for yourself.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's a bad habit, but.
Yeah, but it's like, yeah. I guess it depends on the project. So like if you're doing like a slideshow presentation for a big project, hot tip, never read off the slides. This goes out to everybody who is presenting anything ever. Don't read your slides. Less is more.
Yep. Keep as little as words possible
on the slides, and then have like notes that you read. Yeah. That drives me nuts. I did like a nice solid opening 3 slides for a presentation. I'll toot my own horn here for a second. I did a solid, I'm talking solid opening for this presentation. It was awesome. I had 3 slides. I was going into it, breaking stuff down, setting it up, throw it to my next guy. He read off the slides for like 2 minutes. And I was just,
oh no.
I was livid. I was just fuming in my chair. Like, come on.
What was
we
the
finished it like
about?
2 days ago. Just look over what you need to read.
Yeah, I
do it beforehand.
Yeah, I do my best to like memorize as much as I can. So even if I do have no cards, I'm still maintaining eye contact most of the time.
Exactly.
But
you can hear if someone's reading something,
Yeah. Oh,
like it sounds like somebody's reading something.
It sounds like robotic and stuff. Like you don't know what you wrote.
Exactly.
And I'll call myself out. I've written, like when I was reading over the story while I was recording, I couldn't read what I wrote. I kept stumbling over words and stuff. It took like a good 40 minutes to record it correctly.
Yeah, I mean, it's rough. It's really rough doing presentations if you're not like super into doing presentations like that. I'm fully aware of. One of my good friends, he likes doing presentations, but he knows he's just bad at it. So he's been trying to get better. I remember like at the beginning, he wasn't really sure how he felt about him, and you could kind of hear it when he presented. Now, he loves doing presentations, but at the same time, not very good at it, but he's trying. It's kind of like this weird balance.
Yeah, that's what counts.
Yeah, exactly.
It's trying.
That's what counts. Yeah. Right. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I think we'll
next one
serve up one more question and then we'll go into a small
better
break.
Or worse for exams/projects? ?
Well, personally, I can't speak on behalf of the exams because I have had none over this quarantine. So if you want to enlighten us.
My headphones died halfway through that question, but I got the gist of the question. Don't worry. All right. So like we kind of touched on it earlier for projects. Is quarantine better or worse for exams or projects? I think for exams. So like, here's the thing. One of my professors knows that people, and look, for those of you who are going to be all high and mighty and say, well, that's cheating. Listen, it's called using the resources you're given. My professor knows that during the exams he gave us, we were looking at notes, even though it was a closed note exam. How does he know? Because he gave us 24 hours to do it on a certain day, posted it on Canvas, and even though it was a lockdown browser, or even though originally it was supposed to be a lockdown browser, he decided not to because he's like, I know you guys are just going to be pulling it up on your phones, pulling the notes up on your phones, taking pictures of the notes beforehand and reading them. It's like, whatever. So I think exams, with professors knowing that, and listen, I think it's the dumbest thing when people say that's cheating. That's not cheating. If you go into a workplace, like in the real world, and they say, hey, what's this thing that you need to, it's like, hey, go do this project or whatever. You have an hour to do this. You're not going to remember everything off the top of your head. You're going to research. You're going to look at your notes, for whatever you're doing.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. So it's like, I think exams have gotten, honestly, though, I'd have to maybe say harder, just because some of my professors know that people are using their notes. So they're like, listen, I'm going to give you either slightly less time or I'm going to make the questions harder.
I would have taken the less time.
Yeah. I mean, same, but it's also like, I don't know. Exams have always been weird, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Projects, I'd have to say projects have gotten harder.
Yeah, because you had like all the whole audio labs and stuff, right?
Yeah. When it comes to recording stuff, it's like, I kind of had to get my own, equipment now. Like I said, I had to get this mic.
Right,
I got Pro Tools. Hooray. My wallet is crying in the corner of my room. You can't hear it though. But like for projects, solo projects, I'd honestly say easier. Group projects is where it gets way harder.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like I said,
I'm fortunate I haven't had any of those yet, but like I haven't really noticed much of a difference. Like I can't speak on behalf of exams because, like I said, I haven't had any during the quarantine. But projects, there's not much of a difference there either because even when we were on campus, I was not really using the computer labs that we have for the art things. I was mostly doing everything on my MacBook because I just liked having everything in one place. I didn't like going from big Dell touchscreen tablet to MacBook with about a screen that's this big. So, and now I'm doing that same thing again, except now I have the big. So the only really difference between projects for me, between on campus, in quarantine, and yada, 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 is that I have a machine that works a bit faster, which definitely helped. But so yes, in my personally, projects have gotten a bit easier, but that has nothing to do with the quarantine / lockdown.
Yeah. I think all in all, quarantine has definitely made schooling harder.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Just every aspect of it. I mean, we've been, and you see it on the news too. There were like studies coming out where I think it was like for middle school students and elementary school students, like their reading levels are dropping from what they were or what they were supposed to be. And like math scores and stuff have been like declining over the course of the pandemic because everyone's learning from home and it's hard. And, it's like, listen, I know there are parents out there who are like, I have 2 kids and I work from home and now they also expect me to be a teacher. It's like, look, not all parents can teach. It's as simple as that,
No,
and that's not like bashing parents. It's just like school's hard,
it's hard to teach. Some parents might not have the time.
Yeah, exactly. Too. If you're like a mom and you're working, from 9 to 6 and then you get out at like 6 o'clock, make dinner for your kids. And then you got to ask them like, hey, what homework do you have? Let me help you with it. And it's kind of like that meme in, from what is it? The Incredibles, where Mr. Incredible's looking at the math and he's like, when did they change math? Like that's as much of a joke as that is, that's like, I had a moment like that with my dad in high school.
Yeah.
Like he was looking at the homework I had to do and he's like, what is this? I'm like, I don't know. I'm asking you,
I think my parents got off lucky with that because my sister, she's still in high school, but she's doing everything on her own. She can work on her own. And meanwhile, I'm here in college and my homework is coloring. So not much help there.
Fair enough. The life of an art major.
It's when you break it down to its simplest things, it's like, really, that's what you're going to school for? But I actually think I've learned quite a lot in my classes this year. I feel like I've learned many more techniques for like drawing and coloring and rendering things out. And even in my personal time, I've used like free time to learn like 3D modeling and animation. So I would almost say I'm almost ahead of where I should be currently.
Yeah.
Because I have like an understanding of 3D modeling now, and I don't think I'm supposed to have a class like that until next semester, minus the one I took over the summer.
I mean, hey, better getting ahead, than falling behind.
Because that's the stuff I want to do. I want to work in like the movie special effects or 3D animation and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's kind of the same for me. I was I've been doing radio for over 2.5 years now. college radio. And I didn't take a radio production class until I had already been doing radio for like a year and a half. I took a radio production course with Tom Kaminsky, absolute legend of a professor. And, it was so funny because we would do these radio projects, or a lot of people were nervous to like go on air for the first time. And I went and did my newscast on air, and I was just super comfortable with it. And, I knew what was going on just because I was like, oh, this is easy. It's right. Like I've been doing this for a while because I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of something like that, I guess.
Yeah. I think we're in the same boat in that regard. But so for our radio listeners right now, we're going to take a short little music break before we continue with our next question, which will be, do you think being overburdened with work will be more motivation to get it done? So something to think about in that little bit of time coming up. So before the break, I mentioned we were going to ask, it was, do you think being overburdened with work is more motivation to get it done? And we kind of touched on that at the start of the show on how we each work, but do you want to expand on that a little more?
Yeah. So like, all right, I gotta say it's weird. I think it's a yes and a no thing. So if I have a lot of time and I have a bunch of work, I feel like kind of crushed under the weight of it, and I'll like try and chip at it, and it's just like, gosh, this is so much work, and it's like I feel like I'm making no progress, and it's kind of just like slogs you down.
Right.
But I think having a little less time kind of kicks my brain into like overdrive, and I'm like, okay, I have a load of work to do. Like I'm in that state right now. I have about a week and a half left before hopefully I graduate, and I have like several assignments, a bunch of projects, I have a bunch of stuff to do. Yeah. But at the same time, it's all like planned out in my brain because I don't have a lot of time left. Right. I'm like, okay, today I'm doing this and this, and then tomorrow I'm carving out like 4 hours to do this. And then, I have like a schedule. So I think it makes me, I wouldn't say motivated, because I like to think motivation is kind of a positive term.
Yeah.
I don't know what word I would use for this, but it's I guess like
drive, maybe.
Drive, yeah. I'm more driven to. I like that. That's nice phrasing. I'm more driven to do my work. I wouldn't say I'm motivated to do it, but I'm much more driven to do it.
Yeah, I think I'm along the same boat, because I feel like if I didn't start YouTube again in August and I didn't have to keep that up along with my schoolwork, I feel like I would have gotten a lot less done, almost taken longer to do everything.
Yeah.
But with that being said, just because I'm busy almost every minute of the day doesn't mean I prioritize the right stuff. Like I will put like the video editing and stuff over schoolwork.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely get that too. It's weird. It's a weird, college is just weird. I don't know how else to describe it. It's for when you're, I guess if you're a freshman listening to this, or, maybe high school or whatever, it's like when you get into college and really start getting into college, it's like you start to realize, people always talk about time management.
What's that?
Always hear about it growing up, hear about it freshman year. For me, the term what like time management really meant, that really like clicked in my head like halfway through college, where I was planning out like, okay, this, I know like these kinds of things take me say 5 hours. So it's like, okay, well, I kind of doing this and this. So I don't really have a 5 hour block, but I have a 5 hour block that day that I can like sit down and get that done. It's like, and then I realized like, oh, this is time. This is what they were talking about. My, intro to what's that dumb course they make everybody take at freshman year?
Yeah.
It's like intro to college or something like that. Yeah. It's some dumb course.
It's like, a seminar course, but I forget the exact name of it.
Yeah. New student seminar. That's what it is.
That was it.
I knew. Yeah. New student seminar. And the whole thing is like, hey, this is what a resume looks like. And this is time management. And these are classes. And I'm like, why is there a class on this?
Yeah, I know.
Because none of it clicks until halfway through college anyway.
Right. I almost had it. I was doing pretty good, like managing everything at the start of the semester, and then it kind of fell apart.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that's how a lot of semesters start too. That's how
Yeah.
college started for me. I'll be honest. At the beginning of college, I was all over it. I had a whiteboard calendar. I don't even know where my whiteboard calendar is anymore. I had a whiteboard calendar. I had like a planner. I had like reminders. I all my textbooks. I had study times. I had a study spot in Machuga. I was a chair in the corner on the first floor right by the mail. I still remember it. Awesome spot to read. I was so on top of it. Cut to like 3 years later, I'm like, it's like 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's
and I'm like 6 cups of coffee into this day.
oh my
I guess
God.
I'll make another bowl of ramen and knock out a couple chapters. It's
Yeah.
you know.
It's hard because like I the problem with me is I get so set into a schedule that if anything throws that off, it falls apart completely.
Oh yeah.
And that's not good.
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. It is a time going through this college, this thing they call higher education.
Zoom University.
Zoom University. If
Uh,
I do get to walk, I don't know what the plans are, what Montclair has. I'm assuming I'm gonna get to walk eventually.
yeah.
When I walk, I think I'm gonna decorate my grad cap that says I graduated from Zoom University. Because it's like as much of a joke as it is, like
Yeah.
I'm proud of like all the people who are in my class who are graduating through Zoom University. Like I want to use words that I can't say on air. Like that's how I feel about it, you know?
Yeah. But like I think technically because of this, I'm going to graduate technically from 3 colleges. I graduated from Brookdale while I was still in high school because of a special program my high school did where I was taking college and high school courses at the same time.
Crazy.
So there's that, there's Montclair, and there's Zoom University.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll have 3 degrees, not
Zoom
really.
Zoom University really is a different learning experience. You know, there are probably a bunch of people out there listening like, oh, well, when I was in school, it was, I don't care. I don't care what it was like 500 years ago when you were in school. Okay. I'm sorry, but it's like Zoom University. The reason we call it that, like a bunch of my friends and I call it Zoom University because it doesn't feel like I'm going to Montclair.
Yeah, no.
You know, going to Montclair feels way different than, you know, I have on Tuesdays 3 back-to-back classes. I have 8 hours straight of classes. I have 3 2.5-hour classes on Tuesdays. That normally would be fine if I was in person. And which is why I set my schedule like that, because I've had, you know, semesters where I knock out 3 classes and then I can have a day off during the week. But it's like I have that now and I realize like, wow, this is terrible because I'm sitting in it. I don't have a desk chair. I have a wooden folding chair with a pillow on it. My spine is dust. It is jello, you know?
So sorry.
I'm sitting in front of a computer for 8 hours straight.
Yeah,
and I'm like, why did I do this to myself?
That's
you know,
hard.
it's so different from being on campus. And, you know, say, yeah, I have, you know, 8 hours worth of classes, but it's like I would run in between, you know, you'd run in between your classes, in between buildings. You'd go see different professors like in person, maybe swing by the student center and get some like Chinese food on your way to your next class. You know, it's a different experience. But now it's like 2.5 hours. Let me stand up and stretch in my sweatpants, you know, for 30 minutes before I sit back down.
I will say this one last thing before we move on to our final section, but I'm so grateful Montclair actually shortened all of the studio classes from like 4 to 5 hours down to like 3. It makes it a bit more manageable.
Yeah. And, you know, one thing, and I think you might agree with me on this, Kyle. One thing I've always been annoyed about when it comes to studio art classes. So I've never understood why like science labs are 4 credits when they're 2.5-hour classes. And I've taken, you know, photo classes where it's like, or I'm sure you've taken, you know, plenty of studio art classes where they're literally like 4.5-hour classes.
Yeah.
And then you put in like 30 hours outside of class in between each class, like of work, and they're worth 3 credits. I don't get it.
It's horrible too. And the thing is, there's so many credits or requirement classes for this.
Yeah.
So it's like they're all worth very little credits, but you have to take like 18 of them to fill the large credit requirement.
It's true. It could be worse, though. We could be music majors. My friend Amor is taking like 11 classes right now because most of her classes are only worth 1 credit. Yeah.
Why? That's not fair.
Thank God we're not music majors.
Yeah, thank goodness. All right. So we're running a bit short on time, so we'll do a very quick royalty recommends after the intro runs. Ryan, I usually let my guests go first, so if you want to go first again.
All right. So royalty recommends, we recommend something that we've been doing this week.
Yes.
All right. So what have I been doing this week? What the heck? So literally just before the show, I was speaking of procrastinating on work. I was procrastinating on work. And I was last night, my friend Dana got me Dead Space 3, which is kind of an older game, but right now Steam is having like some crazy like their autumn sale, like Black Friday autumn sale. So a bunch of the stuff that I wanted was on sale, so I got that. And then so that's what I've been playing games wise. I just started playing Dead Space 3 again.
Nice.
World of Warcraft, I'm stopping myself from getting back into that because I know if I get back into it before my projects are done, I won't pass my classes. But that's definitely up there for me. And then I guess for like TV wise, I just watch anime. I just watch all kinds of anime. I've been rewatching My Hero for the umpteenth time. You know, probably gonna start watching Fire Force soon. And I was thinking about that one. Love is War. Yeah. Fire Force is apparently ridiculous. I thought it was an anime about firefighters. Apparently it is, but there's like some crazy like sword fights and like weird magic, and I don't even know. It's anime.
My grandfather was a firefighter. I don't remember any of that.
I don't know. It's what my friend Nick recommended it to me. He's like, all right. Yeah, it's got all this cool stuff in it. I'm like, I thought it was a firefighting anime. He's like, it is. I'm like, okay.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm just going to do a slight copy and paste of your royalty recommends and do roughly the same thing. Because just last night at Thanksgiving, I bought a pack of 5 Jackbox games on sale.
Oh, nice.
And it was worth it. And it cost me even less because I had money from a gift card on my Steam account. So I got it for even more of a discount.
There you go.
So me and some of my family members wound up playing like Trivia Murder Party last night.
Awesome game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so fun.
It's so good. And then I'll put in TV for anime too. I've been rewatching JoJo Part 5 because the English dub finally released, and I watched the 4 other parts in English by accident. So
what do you mean by accident?
I watched it in the dub, and then my friends told me, no, the beauty is in the sub. I'm like, okay, guess I'm doing it again.
It's true. You got to rewatch it in Japanese. I still need to finish JoJo. I will admit I have yet to finish Part 5.
You got some time before Part 6 comes out.
Yeah. If any of my friends are listening to this, they're probably going to kill me for saying that, but.
All right, we'll cut it out then.
Yeah, we'll cut it. We'll do it in post.
But that's going to wrap it up for today. Thank you all so much for listening / watching or whatever you're doing with this show. Ryan, thank you so much for joining me on what might be one of your last shows as a Montclair student, right?
Don't say it like that.
Well,
yeah, no,
I only say that because your show was one of the first ones I was on.
Yeah. I remember way back before the pandemic doing the Rock and Talk radio show. Kyle waltzed in and he was like, how do I do music? And I'm like, nah, you know how to do music.
Yep. Well, thank you all for tuning into WMSC Upper Montclair, and stay tuned. We'll have more shows coming up. Have a great day, everyone.
Adios.